Hello. So it is Wednesday?
Yeah.
Wednesday morning, guys.
It's
Well, no, 2 minutes to go. Still morning. Welcome to Prepisode 7. Yeah, 7. So I just did my quad workout, which I did film for you guys. So that'll be coming up later in the video. But we just stopped at Sobeys. Normally we shop at Independent here in Stittsville, but they fucked up with my vegetarian products, so I was actually able to get some. So I got some Ives burgers, which is the brand I usually use, and then I'm trying this other brand called Soul Cuisine, but they're not as high in protein, so we'll see. Then I was able to get my 1% cottage cheese, my 0% Greek yogurt, my non-dairy cheese, and then I got some tofu. Let's see if I can get this out. So it's the same brand that I got at the grocery store, the soy organic, but this one was only $2, whereas at Independent they were $4 for this much. So looks like I will have to be splitting up my grocery shopping into 2 different stores, which is kind of annoying, but they're both really close, so it's not too big of a deal, even if I have to go on separate days. Other than that, guys, I'm gonna go shower because I am sweaty and gross. Alright guys, so we are starting this quad workout with a warm-up. So I basically do the same warm-up every time I do my quad workout. So I start with knee to chest stretch, and then I go into some knee circles, really opening up the hip joints. And then I go into some hip thrusts, holding for about 3 counts each. This is just to activate my glutes, make sure they're ready to work. And then I go into a hip stretch for the hip flexor. Now notice here I am squeezing my glutes, and I'm not going, I'm trying to do a posterior pelvic tilt, so trying to tuck my bum underneath myself. And that's gonna make sure you're actually stretching the hip flexor and not the hip capsule. So I do that 2 to 4 times. And then I finish off with 1 more activation, and I do some sort of lateral band walk. So this time I chose to just do a straight lateral walk, but you can also do monster walks with a band around the knees and a band around the ankles. So you can change that portion of the warm-up up. And I do about 20, 10 there, 10 back. Alright, so we are starting with the compound movement as always. Usually I do barbell back squats with the low bar squat. But this time I tried to change it up, and I decided to do some front squats, and it's been a hot minute since I've done those. So regardless of how long it's been, I felt pretty good about my form, with the exception of letting my elbows drop ever so slightly towards the bottom of the squat. I did 6 sets of 12, so it was a high volume day with 95 pounds. I felt very taxed in my core during this exercise. So that was kind of another bonus of doing the front squats. Not only was I working my quads and my glutes, but I was really getting that extra core work, which I definitely need at this point in prep. Alright, so after that, guys, we went into the next exercise, which is walking lunges. I'm using 30-pound dumbbells in each hand, and if you can tell from this angle, I'm slightly hinging forward at my hips. That way my walking lunge stimulates the same muscles as a squat and practices the squat pattern technique. I'm driving through the heel of my front foot and making sure that the lowering portion of the lunge is slow and controlled. And then we move on into some leg press. This was a high rep. I did 5 sets of 15, I believe it was, and we did 2 plates per side. This one I was trying to get a continuous flow of movement without any pauses or rests, and making sure that whenever you guys are on leg press, you do not lock out those knees. Next exercise, we're going into leg extension, so I save all the isolation work, the one joint movements, towards the end of my workout, and this time I decided to do a drop set. So I started at 80 pounds, completed 10 reps, then right away dropped it down to the next weight, 10 reps, next weight, 10 reps, until I got down to 25 pounds. By that point, my legs were on fire, and that concludes my quad workout for this week. So I generally try and keep it pretty simple. Let's see you in the next clip. Alright guys, it's time in the episode where we sit down and have a little chat.
So this week we're actually going to be talking about something that I've been experiencing a lot in probably the last 3 to 4 weeks during my prep, and I'm sure a lot of other people have experienced this as well and might have some questions about it. So topic of the day is bloating. So bloating, while it's not an indicator of weight gain or anything like that, it can definitely play tricks on you when you're in prep. It can make you feel like you've gained weight. It can make you feel like you've made no progress. I mean, you're working so hard in the gym, you're doing your exercises, you're hitting your macros, and you know, you're starting to see that visible six-pack coming out, and then out of nowhere, you're bloated and it feels like you're back to square one. So, like myself and probably everyone else who experiences bloating, we'd probably rather not experience it. So, as always, I've written down some of my key points to keep me on track during this little rant, and then we're just going to get right into it. So, there's quite a few common possible culprits for bloating. Now, some of these might apply to you, some of them might not, but if you're experiencing bloating, these are some things that you might want to try and be aware of and possibly try and eliminate and see if it helps your bloating subside. So the first one I'm going to talk about is fiber intake. So this is going to be huge for someone starting prep. So generally, once you begin prep, that's when you're really starting to add in a lot of fiber-rich foods, a lot of vegetables, greens, all of those things, and that's great. You need fiber, you do. However, when you go from a very small amount of fiber up to a large portion of fiber, that can wreak havoc on your digestive system. So you're going to experience bloating. You're probably going to experience some bathroom issues. So by making sure that when you're adding in fiber, number one, you're tracking it, so you know how much fiber you're intaking, and then gradually increase it until you reach your desired fiber goals, your daily fiber goals. That way your body has time to adapt to the influx of fiber, and you won't necessarily have such a bad reaction in terms of bloating and possible diarrhea and constipation and all those fun things. So gradual fiber intake is going to be huge when it comes to bloating. The next one, guys, possible culprit number 2, is artificial sweeteners. And I'm also going to lump sodas in with this because yes, they do have artificial sweeteners, but there's some other reasons as well. So for artificial sweeteners, for some people, they cause no issue whatsoever. And for others, they do cause a little bit of bloating. Now with the sodas or carbonated beverages, so that includes your energy drinks, that's kind of a double-edged sword because you get the artificial sweeteners. So if you have a sensitivity to that, that's going to cause bloating. And then you also have the carbonation, which for most people, they'll experience bloating almost immediately after consuming. So for this one, if you are having a lot of bloating issues, try and cut back on the use of artificial sweeteners in your diet. So that includes obviously sugar replacements like stevia, sugar twin, all of those. But also usually includes whey proteins that are flavored, BCAAs, pre-workouts, 0-calorie drinks. So if you are experiencing a lot of bloating, you could cut back on those for a few weeks to see if it subsides. If it doesn't, that means you're probably fine to keep using those artificial sweeteners and can bring them back into your diet if you wish. The third culprit, guys, can actually be too little fat in your diet. Now, I know this can be tricky, especially as you're getting closer to your stage date because you do have to cut down on your fats, but too little fat in your diet can actually cause a lot of bloating and a lot of bathroom issues. So basically, healthy fats do aid in bowel movements, and if you aren't consuming enough fats, you can be constipated, which everyone knows is going to give you that bloated look, and you're going to be uncomfortable as well. So making sure that you don't drop your fats too low too fast. Culprit number 4. So this applies to some people, not to everyone, but food sensitivities. So the most common one is dairy. A lot of people find that they have to cut out dairy to reduce bloating, but another one is gluten. Now, if you don't have the sensitivities to these foods, keep them in your diet. But again, if you cut them out for a few weeks and you notice a reduction in the bloating and reduction in discomfort, then you might want to keep them out of your diet for the duration of prep. Last one, guys, number 5, is inconsistent water and sodium intake. So your body's pretty good at regulating itself with whatever you give it in terms of water and sodium, and you don't want to be playing around with those. You don't know how, you can't really predict how your body's going to act. So the more consistent you can be with both water and sodium, the easier it's going to be on your body. Okay, so definitely trying to get several liters of water in a day, watching your sodium intake to make sure that it's consistent day to day. So those are the 5 most common. Obviously there are things that can affect you outside of those, but if you are bloating and you're not really sure why, those are some things that you can visit and see if you react well to changing those. Now, 2 other things that you can do to help your bloating is you can add in a probiotic and a digestive enzyme into your supplement stack. So the probiotic is going to provide your gut with that good bacteria, and digestive enzyme is actually going to aid in the breakdown of the food. So that should help with bloating and abdominal discomfort. So yeah, that's basically it on bloating, guys. Quick little bloating 101. The last thing I'm going to leave you with, and this is especially true for those of you on prep who are hungry and probably counting the minutes between each meal, but it's to slow down and chew. I know for me, when I'm really hungry, I just shovel my food, and if you're not actually chewing your food, you're not taking the time to breathe in between eating, you're just not helping yourself out. So those are some tips for you guys. If you have any questions, leave them down below. And if there's any topics that you want me to cover in the next future Prepisodes, again, just leave us a comment and I'll be happy to help. Other than that, guys, you know what to do. Leave a thumbs up, click subscribe, and we're going to see you in Prepisode 8 next Sunday.